Welcome to episode 124 of The Endless Stream. I'm Aidan, and this week I am joined by Brian and Kevin. We are three artists, illustrators, filmmakers, and all-round shit talkers, and each week we take some of the endless stream of content brought to you through Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Disney+, wherever you get your content. We take a chunk of it, we watch it, and we talk about it. This week we're going to talk about the new season of Wheel of Time. We talk about the new Aquaman movie coming down the pipe a bit, but primarily what we're talking about is the 1957 David Lean, Alec Guinness movie, The Bridge on the River Kwai. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the podcast, heading over to iTunes, heading over to Spotify, rating, reviewing, liking, subscribing. All of those good things really help us out. On top of that, you can head over to Instagram, @TheEndlessCast, and give us a follow. We put up posts and we put up art and clips to go with each episode over there. And that's a great place to send us a message, comment on the episode itself, suggest something for us to watch, or disagree with one of our opinions. You can do that there. Or you can send us an email at theendlesscast@gmail.com. All of that being said, let's get into the episode.
Does Pearce Brosnan really have a third nipple?
Good question. Good question. Great way to start the podcast. Third nipple, as all three of us are back together, we may as well start with a question of threes.
Yes.
Does Pearce Brosnan have a third nipple? Where did you hear this?
I thought that was a James Bond thing, or it was in something.
No,
James
I think
Bond
you're
have a third
thinking of
nipple?
Scaramanga, the man with the golden gun, who famously has a third nipple. Played by Christopher Lee, I think?
I'm not sure. Brian, what's your opinion?
Let's just say yes. Let's just confirm it here.
Pierce Brosnan, third nipple.
Official.
Ah.
Official nipple.
Does it have a function?
It's official.
Superfluous third nipple.
Superfluous.
Hell of a band.
Bill Paxton apparently had a third nipple.
What did he use it for?
Which Bond character had three nipples? Francisco Scaramanga. So you were wrong, Aidan. It was the man with the golden gun, Francisco Scaramanga.
He's got you there, Aidan. When you're wrong, you're wrong. When you're wrong, you're wrong. How humiliating.
Yeah, he's got me there. I was completely
You're
wrong. I don't know if he's joking.
How embarrassing.
Or if
Yeah, you're wrong.
I'm going to play back what I said.
Yeah, we can
right
play it
after
back.
this.
And you're wrong.
Yeah, and you're wrong. Exactly, Brian. You get it. So when was the last time all three of us were together?
3-4 weeks? More?
I don't think so.
I have no idea.
I'd say like either were we all together? Have we been all together since you came back from America? I don't think so. Have we been all together since you? Have we ever did a podcast where three of us together?
We did. We did one or two.
I don't.
We did.
Did we?
We did. I had to get up early in the morning.
Okay. I don't remember. Oh yeah. Okay. Fair. I'll trust you guys. I don't remember much. It's a great gift and a curse.
Come a little closer to that mic, Kev.
God, he's controlling me too much, Brian.
I'm just asking you to sit still.
Brian, step in.
He's a peacock.
He's a peacock.
You gotta let him decide.
I saw an
Controlling
albino
too much.
peacock.
Did you?
Yeah. Well, not in real life. On the computers.
I got swooped upon by a peacock. It was very impressive.
Interesting. Where was that?
I was in Lisbon in March, and we were walking up to the castle, and as we were walking up the hill, I looked up, I heard that noise, and there was a peacock on a wall about 30-40 feet away from us, and it leapt off the wall and just swooped down over us in a lovely straight line. It was like something out of fucking Pokemon, you know, when like the Arctic bird or the firebird flies over you, and it just went and landed on another wall and was like
Moltres.
And I was the only one that looked like other tourists, of course, but like the three people I was with did not see it. And I'm like, you missed the fucking most impressive thing I've ever seen.
That's great. You had a kind of a real Pokemon experience.
Yeah.
Brian, you love peacocks. That's one thing I know about you. Probably the only thing I know about
do.
you. You're a big peacock fan.
Big fan.
Yeah. They're incredible. They're crazy.
Especially when they do the full display.
Yes.
It's like a wall of eyes.
Yes, it's terrifying.
That shimmers and makes noise. It's fucking insane. It's crazy. I love it. Love it.
Favorite bird, Kevin?
Imagine somebody describing that for like the first time. It's like, you're fucking insane. No, man, it had like this fucking, like, this just tail with eyes. And like, man, like not 2 eyes. Fucking 100 eyes. 100 eyes. And they were like glowing and stuff. It was like, fucking get the fuck out of here. You crazy.
Uh,
Stupid,
peacocks
crazy person.
like we think of them as I don't know. I think of them as like they're sort of associated with gentry. You think of them like estates and stuff floating around the place. Where are they from?
definitely
Where are they
were.
indigenous to? Like, are they Western European or were they brought in?
I have no
That's
idea.
that's a fairly exotic looking bird. For
do the female peacocks look the same as the male peacocks?
no,
Nope.
they're
We
big.
got it backwards. I think men should be the ones that have to wear makeup and all the spedazzle.
Peacocking.
Peacocking.
Peacocking, yeah. You've jumped to my taste a little bit too far to the makeup thing. That's not my preference. I know there are people that love or do enjoy that end of things, but definitely I think that men's fashion is underserved, or people don't try enough with it. That being said, I've dressed head to toe in black, but I do think that there's a lot of missed opportunity in men's fashion. People are just sort of basic. Is that what I mean?
Emer said you look great the other day, buddy. In your black, in your picture on Instagram.
Oh, yeah, I got some shit for that.
She said it was a lovely photograph. And I said I took it and she didn't believe me.
You got shit from who?
About a half dozen people gave me, to varying degrees of taking the piss and varying degrees of whatever, just
Oh,
thirst
they're
trapping.
jealous.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, yes, jealous.
Jealous.
Yeah.
Jealous people because you look great.
And like, I was half joking, but I was just like, every photo I put up is either a weird face, hanging out of a tree, maybe I'm in the gym.
fuck 'em.
Like, the one time I asked someone to take a photo sincerely, and even then I'm taking the piss of the fact that I'm dressed wrong for the weather. And I start getting shit.
Fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them, mate.
like,
They're trying to keep you
Yeah,
down.
there's a lot of that. People will just kind of say stuff.
Trying to keep you down.
They think they're being funny, but what they're really doing is using the opportunity to be passively aggressive through what they think is banter, but it's not. It's just rude.
It's not banter.
yeah, it was.
I had a friend
it
who did
was-
shit like that all the
Making
time.
sure you stay in your role.
They try to put you down
Stay
and
in
like,
your
fuck
lane.
you.
Yeah, I like the people that commented in it or on it. Like, I got a full sort of range of like, I know that's lighthearted, taking the piss. I know that's a little bit like, I got a range of it, but I was just like, I don't know if it's fucking worth ever taking pictures.
No,
Take more.
exactly. I was going to say,
Take
give them more to
Take
hate.
10
Give
times
them
more
more to
posting
hate.
them. Yeah.
Brian, we
fuck
should be you and I should be like a duo team life coach type of thing, where we just destroy people's perceptions of themselves and rebuild them. So my favorite bird, Brian will probably be aware of this bird because Brian's up to speed on shit. Brian knows everything. He's on the ball. But of course, generally, I was thinking. My afterthought was, crows. I love crows. Brian loves crows. Everybody loves crows. Crows are great. But my initial thought when you asked me what my favorite bird was the shoebill.
Oh,
Those
that-
things are terrifying.
It's the
And
dinosaur.
they're
Yeah.
great looking.
okay. I think they're fascinating. They're not my favorite bird. I like the more I've learned about them, I'm like, they're a fucking crazy ass damn bird. But
You see, they came to my mind at first because it's just like they're such an interesting looking bird. Like they're phenomenal looking. They're so prehistoric. But I love a good crow and a magpie, and I try to respect the crows in my area. And sometimes Bigo goes for them, and I'm like, here. I was like, you can fucking run after pigeons, but leave the crows alone because crows
Don't mess with the
remember.
crow.
Crows remember.
Crows remember.
I know.
Crows remember.
yeah, I sort of same sort of corvid family are magpies, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so that guy,
I think
like
so.
feeding me magpies.
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Bird.
The blackbird is the same, or Saint Kevin, I believe, is the patron saint of blackbirds or something. Blackbirds are cute. But to be honest, Ireland has beautiful birds, like so many beautiful birds. There's a bird that's around my area that looks real. It's a real interesting looking bird. I can't think of the name of it. There's a customer, I've mentioned him here before. He's an ecologist.
Is it
He
Emer?
told me, Brian,
That's a great
Brian, you are the living end. The living end.
Right.
You're hilarious. Aiden, keep that one
Oh
in.
God.
Oh my god. Hey guys. You know who my favorite bird is?
Go on.
Me on York.
Go on.
Get out of it.
Oh,
Get out of
that's
it.
good.
Men. Speaking of men,
Fucking Michael at a festival. We the Bag of Cats had performed at one festival, and the way the lineup worked out that day, like only 4 of us could go, and it was like one of the guys hosting just went, "All right, is everybody ready for 4 middle-aged white men to do some improv?" And the room cheered, and Michael started a chant, "White men, white men, white men," and they stopped that so fast.
well, that's hilarious. If you're going to introduce him like that, fuck it. That's hilarious. That is good fun. Oh my god, brilliant.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No,
I think we can leave that in because that was done to a fucking audience, right?
Oh yeah, that stays
and
in.
it was like it's tongue in cheek, it's banter.
Yeah, and it got shut down.
Yes,
Anyway,
yeah, which I think is great. But
it was done to get shut down.
yes. But what was I going to say to you? I can't remember what I was going to say. But
I can tell you that peafowl are native to Sri Lanka in India, where they are the national bird.
Peafowl.
Phoenicians first brought
No,
peafowl
about
from
that.
India to what is now Syria and Egypt about 3,000 years ago.
was that peacocks? Oh, interesting.
Because we think about them as being, I don't know, I think of them as being around, but I never thought about where they come from, why they're here.
Fair. Well, I assume anything that's kind of like, no, don't get me wrong, I was just going to say Ireland has a beautiful collection of indigenous animals and birds and all sorts, but Ireland has a beautiful collection of indigenous animal, birds and all sorts, but I assume stuff like peacocks and things were just brought in from British lords on their lavish grounds in Ireland, and that's essentially where they came from.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely where, again, we're repeating ourselves, I guess, at this point. That's where I associate them with, but I didn't think to go, of course, fucking British Empire, India. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Beautiful birds, beautiful birds. If you've not
birds.
if you have not seen a peacock before, folks, don't Google them and just go to your local pet farm
Or exotic pet supplier.
or exotic pet supplier.
So support your local exotic pet
Yeah.
supplier.
Yeah.
And if you want to eat some peacock,
Go to your lowest rated takeaway on or
not at all. You want to go to somewhere really, like, you want to head to like Cavistons or somewhere in Dalkey that does fancy ass fucking fowls, guinea hens and
Or maybe
pheasants.
don't. Or maybe don't.
All right, maybe don't.
Yeah, I don't think you should. But you can eat peacock, and it is in fact a delicacy in many places around the world. However, only the blue peacock species are allowed to be slaughtered and eaten. Consumption of the green peacock species is not allowed, as they are under a strict protection.
Any news in the world of media this week, boys and girls? Are you playing Starfield by any chance, Brian, or does that interest you at all?
God, no.
No?
Zero interest.
Fair enough. You're not
No,
a
thank
Bethesda
you.
game guy, right?
I am not.
No.
Get that slop
You're playing.
out of my
You're playing
face.
Baldur's Gate.
No.
Oh, King Fall.
That.
What I look like, a nerd?
No, definitely.
What are you playing?
Definitely.
I'm playing
definitely not
nothing.
with those
You're not
glasses.
playing anything?
I'm not playing nothing.
You're still in the VR world?
I haven't played it in weeks.
You had the
It's not the
PSVR,
time.
was it? The new PlayStation VR? Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
Just don't have time.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, buddy. Sorry about that, pal. Sorry about that, old bean.
Sucks.
Since I've got back from Edinburgh, I have settled into a hermitage, I think. I am just staying in the house and going to the gym.
Hermetic.
I'm about 10 days into
He's gone hermetic.
house draw right gym cycle. I did go out to try and talk to venues for comedy shows on Thursday, at which point I went to a movie. I went to see the Blue Beetle Boys.
Boys.
A little late to it, I guess, in terms of
Thumb
like
up, thumb down.
thumbs up, thumbs down. I think
If it came
I'm
out
gonna give it a
8 years ago, it'd be a thumbs up.
yeah. If it came out a long time ago, it would be a thumbs up. I think it's good. It's got some weak moments. It's got some stuff that's like very Spy Kidsy in terms of like the family doing shit together.
That's racist,
but that's
okay.
not bad. I think that it's diminished by its association with what the DCEU has been since 2013, I think, through, Man of Steel, Dark Knight, or Batman versus Superman, all of that shit. I do think it's very telling that it is the most disconnected from the DCEU film I've seen. There's no illusions. Like, even Shazam, which is pretty standalone, has Cavill's Superman suit popping up at the end, so that ties you into Cavill's Superman. This thing mentions Batman, it mentions Superman, it mentions a Blue Beetle being around in like the decade or 20 years beforehand. It's got the history of Dan Garrett, but it's completely, you don't see any... I don't think you see any production design or aesthetic that we've associated with the DCEU up to this point. And coming out of it, I was like, if anything is going to survive this transition, I think it might be this, because it's spot on to the comic and it's not tied to anything that's come before it. So,
So it's got like largely new cast.
Entirely new cast.
Contracts and stuff like that. It's not. Yeah.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
There's a rumor going around. I don't even know where it's from. Somebody cropped a sentence. Somebody could have typed it in a Word document and just cropped it in to make it look like it was, a rumor or a headline or something. But it's just funny to me. They're saying that Aquaman 2 has been lost in the Warner Brothers servers.
Imagine.
And they can't find it. Which, if it was true, that would be absolutely hilarious.
Oh, that would be so.
Because it could be true. Because it could go the way of Batgirl. It might be cheaper for them to take
Just insurance right off it.
Tax loss.
God Almighty!
I
don't know. Like,
because the Flash was pretty dismal, and they were hyping that up.
Yeah, I sent you
That
that.
was supposedly testing really
Yeah.
well, and I've been hearing that Aquaman 2 has not been testing well at all. And like, Amber Heard is in it, and she's
Poison.
it's not that even that she's poison. It's just, do they want to release something and draw, like, she's doing her own thing now in Madrid, I think.
What does that mean?
And good for her. She's just in Madrid
When you
training for marathons and stuff.
okay,
Do they just want to like attach her to a press cycle, and just
yeah.
detract from? Yeah, it's just. I
If they remove her from the film, they have to talk about it. If they release her with it in the film, they have to talk about it. It's a whole thing, and it's not going to be good. And it also feels like Momoa's like, on Gunn's shoulder, going, "Let me be Lobo." Like, it feels like he's over the Aquaman thing. Yeah. The Aquaman cameo at the end of The Flash was.
I didn't even stick around for it.
yeah.
I stuck around, but I was like, I got to the end of The Flash and went, thank fuck this era of DC movies is over. And then they reminded me that Aquaman 2 is coming. I'm like,
I know,
God.
yeah. I keep on forgetting it's coming out, to be honest.
Don't know that it is.
They got it right once with Wonder Woman, and then that was it. Like, and even then they messed that up a bit towards the end.
Yeah.
It was still decent, but.
What did you say, Brian? Which movie?
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
Oh,
Wonder Woman was good. And the only part that really took a misstep was the Ares
final fight.
fucking CGI fight at the end. Yeah.
He would have been
Before
far
that,
more
it was-
threatening just fighting her in the like Georgian era tailcoat.
Yeah,
that would have been much more.
And he's a great actor.
And David Thewlis is fucking fantastic. Yeah.
It's one of those. It's one of those fucking things that like so annoys me about people making films that have no taste. Or no aesthetic sense. It's just like bigger and muscles and textures and CG render times need to be high. High render times equals good movie. In this instance, David Thewlis would have been so much more intimidating and powerful as this as himself.
100%.
I didn't need a costume change.
Yeah.
Just being a god in Victorian or
Especially
post-Victorian era.
just like the symbol of it, you know, just him looking like a man kind of at the
Early 20th century imperialist.
yeah perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only time they've really kind of, like, how many years? Was it 2013? Was that Man of Steel?
2013. I'm not sure if I'll double check this now. I you know, you got milestones in life. I was in Denmark in 2011, and then I went back in 12 or 13, and that's when I heard about the Affleck announcement. So it's soon after. That's when I think about it.
Right. I think it was a little earlier, possibly. Anyway. Point being,
2013 was Man of Steel.
Okay.
So we were probably hearing about Cavill in 2011. You know?
Yeah, a decade of just missteps.
Solid decade.
Never really getting it right.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And like, again, I was in Denmark 2011. I was seeing Thor. Like, I was doing this training course, and like my gift to myself with limited money and limited access to things was like, I would go to the cinema if there was something on. That's what was around, and that's what I did. And there wasn't a lot of films I wanted to go and see, and I didn't have a lot of money to spend, so I was, you know, using my cinema choices judiciously. And I had enjoyed 300, and Sucker Punch came out, and this is the guy making the new Superman movie, so let's go see Sucker Punch.
I've never seen
Sucker Punch, and
it's dreadful.
God awful. And
it's so bad.
And
it's weird. It's very creepy.
It's a horny teenage boy wrote a script.
Did he write that?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's when all the sort of rumors about like Warner's starting to exert control over his Superman projects and stuff, and like, because he had been given a degree of free reign after 300, and then they saw Sucker Punch and were like, let's check this a little bit. And I was like, I don't know if I can't remember if I was like, you really need to exert control over this guy or you need to let him go, but he shouldn't write stuff anyway. A decade of...
Why do we always end up talking about it?
Don't know.
Speaking of him...
on the Snyder Cast.
He's got a chokehold in this podcast.
Right. Aidan, you brought it up, so fuck you.
Rebel Moon?
No, not Rebel Moon. No. I don't know if you saw this thing recently. It was like this week or last week, I can't remember. A Twitter account has dug up, called it Snyderverse or something on Twitter, and it has its logo as the X, the same as the Twitter logo and all that kind of stuff.
It's
and
a bot.
This Snyderverse, well, you know, this Snyderverse account had dug up old tweets from James Gunn, and James Gunn was saying how he didn't like Tim Burton's Batman, that like it was the worst work of everybody involved in the movie, and the soundtrack was awful, and he also didn't like Christopher Nolan's Batman. You know, he had, you know, issues with that, but the people are trying to get him cancelled, saying, and it's like trying to start like hashtag cancel James Gunn, get James Gunn fired, and it's like, and it's so funny because it's when you actually look into it, it's just like, you're just upset that he doesn't like the same movies as you guys, so you want to get him fired.
Yeah,
it's like,
just
fucking
dorks.
Jesus. Imagine being like that easily upset and triggered.
I love Burton's Batman. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And then I saw Nolan's Batman and I was like, yeah, this is cool too. But like Burton's Batman was dark, and it was like that's a cool dark Batman. And then I went back and watched it again and I was like, oh, this is so camp in so many ways. And it's like, he made the suit black, but he's made Adam West's Batman with, you know, body armor and dark corners. Like, it's so kitschy, and like down to the Joker's like henchmen and the Dutch angles, and like he just remade the 60s show. Like,
and the thing is, Schumacher was just doing the same thing. It was just too far.
Yeah.
You know? And
too overproduced.
It just needed to be. You know, people talk about him being the worst things ever, but he was just trying to do what had already kind of been established in terms of, let's take this very camp kitschy thing and dial it up for the taste of the decade.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And it worked, and then it didn't work.
I mean, as much as we look at the day glow and the bright colors and the silly shit of like Batman and Robin, Like, I remember going to see that movie for a neighbor's birthday party when we were like 10 or whatever, and I remember going into Cineworld and walking past the arcades, and like the world seemed bright and colorful and day glow and kitschy and like Star Trek, and like people had like glasses with like fucking hologram skulls and shit on them, and like the world felt like it was full of this colorful day glow shit, and it was. And you know, yeah, it's a big kitschy mess of a fucking film, but that was the 90s to a degree.
Yeah, fair.
Especially the 90s of a child as well. So I have
Very fast food commercial, which Burton's was as well.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing.
Yeah.
He just gets away with it because he went on and did other things in a similar style, and he gets remembered for his overall taste and aesthetic. But Batman '89 was a big fast food toy commercial.
Yeah, 100%. The Kevin and I went to the comic shop there in the middle of the week, and I saw they had a copy of the #1 Blue Beetle with Jaime Reyes as it was the relaunch of that Blue Beetle, and I was looking at it going, God, this feels like this just happened, because I am a Blue Beetle fan. Like, I don't know how many Blue Beetle fans there are out there, but it ties to the fact that, like, when I went to a market stall in Dunleary in 1994, 95, the first time I found like actual American comics for sale in long boxes in a dark market in Dunleary, 4 for £1, I got 2 issues of Blue Beetle and 2 issues of Blue Devil, and I just read those books inside out, just stared at every page, because I'd never heard of this character, and it was so bright and fun and goofy, and I loved it. So like, I've got a deep affection for the Blue Beetle. I got my favorite T-shirt that I own is my Blue Beetle T-shirt, because who the fuck owns a Blue Beetle T-shirt? Where the fuck? I don't even know why this got made. And it's like Ted Kord Blue Beetle. Like, I love this thing. It's getting kind of worn, but it's like, I don't know. So what I was getting to there though was it's interesting how technologies become standard and unnoticed. Now, this is going to make sense in a second. The Batman movies that we see from the 80s and the 90s are made a certain way because they've got certain production techniques and certain visual effects and budgets and filmmaking options available to them. And as we've gone on, as you get into the Nolan world of things and the budgets become more, like the fact that we can do superheroic things in films and not look at it and go, that's shit. You know, like you think of that Captain America with the rubber ears. It's just shifting technologies as much as anything else. Making a Batman in the 80s and 90s, maybe you had to lean into the absurdity of it a little bit more. And I got there because I saw that issue of the Blue Beetle in Sub-City. I'm like, that feels like that just happened yesterday, but I think it's 2013, 2014 was the year on the cover. And you can look at comics from the 90s and go, that's a 90s comic. You can tell by the line work. You can tell by the coloring styles.
The graphic design choices on the cover.
You can tell a comic from the 80s. You can tell a comic from 70s, 60s. You can work your way back and gauge the age of them. Digital art, drawing directly onto a screen in Photoshop. Like, I could not tell you what year that Blue Beetle comic came out of. It just looks like a digitally colored comic. Now, maybe, art styles and stuff, but it feels like the tool set has got to the point where people just do whatever the hell they want now. And it looks, I just don't know what would be an art style trend of the last 10 years.
In the last 10 years, I'm not sure, but definitely, I think.
I feel like you're having to gauge it by like the costume designs. Like, I can tell you a New 52 because they redesigned the high collar and lots of lines on the suit, but not from the production styles. You know what I mean?
Fair.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think it's going through though a bit of a stylistic shift at the moment. I think it's definitely going down the route of the likes of James Herron. He seems to be kind of as influential to artists as maybe Vignola was, or because I think James Herron is building, but he's obviously influencing a huge amount of people. Like, I think Daniel Warren Johnson is heavily influenced by him.
How am I spelling James Herron?
Brian.
Harren.
James Harren. Sorry.
I would have thought they were kind of contemporaries, though. No.
What do you mean, like kind of?
Him and Daniel Warren Johnson. Oh, you're talking
Yeah, I
about
would've-
Ultramega, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rumble and Hellboy. I think he did some Hellboy.
I would think of them as contemporaries. Yeah.
Well, I know Daniel Warren Johnson has literally said
Yeah.
like he was teaching art in the school or something, saw James's stuff and was just like, what the fuck? And that's actually that was one of the final pushes that made him go like, I got to do this.
And for me, they're both very manga
Yeah,
influenced.
well, that's true as well.
100%.
Well, I can see the Mignola influence for sure as well, particularly with Harren.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's
I would say both of them are
the contents and the topics
kind of
and
manga.
Cthulhu and stuff.
Well, this is true. That's a good point, Brian. Actually, as well. This is like we're looking at like because it's like realistically, they're guys our age to a degree, right? That are kind of like coming up, and obviously years of work behind them, and now they're getting the fruits of their labor, so they're more prominent now. But they're a bunch of guys, like probably some of the first generation of artists that would have been really influenced by manga and had more access to it. All that Zipatone stuff is coming back in a big way.
It's the access and the availability to tutorials and training and stuff. Like, you could hand me a packet full of that Zipatone stuff, but if I can't go to YouTube and see how the fuck it's being used, I'm not going to be able to figure it out in the same way, Like, I've said that before with, like, I can't remember the name of the artist. There's an artist who's, The Dam Keeper, that animated film? All the character design stuff was done by a guy there, and I remember looking at his line work going, how the fuck is he doing that? Like, he's just pencil drawings that look gorgeous. And then one day he just put up an Instagram video of him drawing, and I went, oh, look at the way he's moving the pencil. That's how he's doing it. And like, suddenly I just got a pencil out, did it, and was like, it's that simple. All I needed to see was how he's making the mark. And of course, his design sense is going to lead to how the characters look and whatnot, but in terms of how he's making that mark, it's like, great, got it. So having access to how to throw down ink and how to throw those... is it Zipatone? Is that what's the name of that stuff?
Yeah, Ziptone.
Ziptone stuff. Having access to and examples of how to use it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, fair. But I think that stuff is obviously becoming more and more prominent in comics nowadays. You definitely see more people utilising it.
Yeah, I mean,
like as things go through
it's having a
fads
resurgence for sure.
Yeah, I think go through fads and trends and stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's so many digital artists that, like, if people get really good at that 2D stuff, or if people get really good at those traditional skill sets, they stand out. Like Daniel Warren Johnson stands out for his traditional, the complexity of traditional work. Sean Gordon Murphy as well, with his pens and his inks and his stuff.
I don't know if I sent it in a group chat. I think he posted a Gambit and Rogue commission he was working on. Very, very cool.
Okay. So the Blue Beetle movie was fun.
Oh yes.
I was I was kind of surprised they went down the OMAC route, the One Man Army Corps stuff. I guess because I haven't read the Jamie Reyes stuff or Jaime Reyes stuff. It's fun. I hope they keep him around, basically, is where I'm getting to.
Do you think they will?
I don't know if Gunn will. I don't know. I've no idea. Gunn has sort of been on the fence about what's staying and what's going. I think if The Flash had been a massive success, I think he would have been more obligated to hang on to stuff. What a fucking mess. I sent you that TikTok of like the visual effects stuff of him.
Instagram, yeah.
And what I was looking at was like the comment or the title under it where somebody was just like, this is a work of art.
Yeah.
And it's just like, he looks like he's being held up by his fucking crotch not running right. Like looks horrible. Anyway. Especially as I don't think of the Eternals as a standout film for many things, but the super speed run across the world was cool. What was that character's name? Macari? Or am I making that up?
Yeah, Macari.
Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, well, it is what it is. Will we see more Blue Beetle? Who knows? I have to watch it first anyways. Aidan and I had another cinema experience this week. And we went to see Bridge Over the River Kwai in the Stella Cinema. Aidan, you hadn't been there before. It's been my second time there. I went last Saturday to see Barbie. What do you think? What was your experience? Have you ever been to Stella, Brian?
Not the cinema, no.
Okay.
I've been in the bar.
Okay.
But no, not cinema.
So the Stella Cinema is in Rathmines in County Dublin. It is a refurbished 100-year-old cinema. They've got lovely photographs of it and like ticket stubs and things lying around from it being functional in the 60s and the 50s and I guess 30s. I guess we can go back through time. That's 100 years. It kind of died a death, or it was looking like dog shit, or closed down, and somebody bought it, did it up, made it a prestige cocktails and repertory screening kind of place. It was €21 a ticket to go and see this, which is pricey, but like I'd never seen the Bridge on the River Kwai. If you want to see,
you're paying for that free glass of Prosecco.
I mean, I don't even think you get that free glass of Prosecco with most screenings. Like I asked when I got in, I was like, "Why is that for this screening specifically?" And they went, "Yeah, we just put it on because it's the middle of the day." And I was like, "Okay, all right." So I think that's I don't think Kev got a free glass of Prosecco when he went to see Barbie.
No.
But I think when you're showing Bridge on the River Kwai,
Well, you couldn't have that crowd.
Yeah, look, it's expensive. But walking into that theater for the first time, and the lights and the way the plasterwork of the ceiling looks and the curtains, and like they've got little like scent things making sure the place smells decent, and it was beautiful. It was a lovely way to walk into a theater. The seats were phenomenally cushy. I loved it. They got the footstools in front of you, little lamps on your tables. The lamps all go down when the movie starts. I did my usual thing when booking a cinema ticket, which is I always go a little further back. And because I know that like the general accepted best practice is like as central as possible because of how the fucking, the speakers and the sound systems, whatever the hell, but I always come a little further back, a little closer to the edge because, I need to get out in the middle of the theater, in the middle of the movie. I say that to say, because these things are giant armchairs rather than little cinema seats, you're way further back than you think you're going to be. So if I were going again, I'd book closer because I felt, right, we're pretty far away here. Is that, before getting into the film, is that a good enough summation of the experience? I'm not mad on the food idea.
Okay.
You ordered food, right?
Yes.
What did you order?
Parmesan fries and chicken tenders.
And how were they?
Well, look, they were delicious. The first time I had them, they were delicious. I also shared them with, last time I shared the fries with Emer and had a hot dog myself. This time I had the tenders myself and the chips. Couldn't eat it all. But it was fine. I just think the heat had dampened my appetite. But I'm into it, dude. Whatever. It's an experience.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And I know it's my expectations of a cinema experience. I think popcorn, drink, some sweets, and that's your setup. Like,
yeah,
when hot dogs and nachos started coming along, I'm like, this is getting involved and warm and messy, and I don't want a meal like this when I'm seeing a film. But whatever. But by the time you order food, and it shows up in the middle of the movie, like a guy comes in with a tray, and like he did it discreetly, like you said. It comes in. You said it comes in like a half an hour into the film.
This came in pretty much immediately, but obviously
pretty much immediately. Guy comes in as the film's starting and kneels down in front of you. He's like, "Okay, who ordered the fries? And who ordered the chicken wings?" And it's like, "Okay, great, okay, cheers, yeah, thanks." And like, I don't want that personally. I don't want that, and I don't necessarily want it going on around me. That's me personally. Go and see a movie. If you want a meal, go for a meal. If you want a movie, come to the movie. That's me personally. Thoughts from the group? Disagree? Am I the asshole?
I mean, what I hear from you is, I don't like it, therefore no one should have it.
Well, I think I just said, that's just me. Let's hear some other opinions.
But what? So I'm not allowed to share my opinion? So you're literally criticizing me. You, Brian.
Am I nuts?
I heard him.
Am I nuts? I just said, this is what I feel about this.
I heard him.
Yeah.
But I'm open to hearing other opinions.
And then I gave you my opinion and you criticized me straight away. And then
but your opinion was to attack me for my opinion.
Well, no, so I'm not allowed to have an opinion about you.
I mean, if you were to say I like it a lot,
Wow.
I really enjoy it, and I want to keep doing it, that's your opinion. But to go, you just like attacked me for my opinion.
I'm gonna let Brian referee this and see how he feels.
How do you feel about the food in cinemas? That's the question.
How do I feel about food in cinemas?
Don't get triggered now, Aidan.
Either of you.
I think it's got to be. If any food's allowed, then it's all allowed.
Okay.
You know, if popcorn and packets are allowed, then fucking everything should be allowed. But then, do I want the screen smelling like hot food and stuff? No, I don't. But I would tend to be more of a purist, but I also kind of don't care.
Yeah.
So
I want to go in. I want to be kind of just under a trance, looking at the big glowing thing in front of me, and in a dark room, like it's projecting from my own imagination, and I'm just fully absorbed. That's my preference.
Can I just ask, because I
don't
can't
really
remember,
mind.
Kevin?
Don't really mind at the same time other people eating and stuff. I can just go to something else.
Okay.
You know.
Can I just ask, as I can't remember, Kevin, if I had wanted to order a burger, was that on the menu?
yes.
Yeah, you see that this becomes very. At what point is cutlery getting involved, and then we have the clinking of
No, they have wooden cutlery. Cutlery. I can never say
cutlery?
that word.
Okay.
Can I actually, on a serious note,
yeah, 100%.
in regards to the food and stuff, I think personally, whatever food is on sale in the cinema should be the only food there. People bringing in like sushis, and I used to go to cinema with somebody and they'd bring in these really like very bitter smelling Eastern European stews and all that kind of stuff, and it was a very bizarre choice. But also people would turn around and be like, oh, sorry, like kind of that smells too bad, can you cover it up, you know, which I think is fair enough because it's spoiling your experience, you know.
Sure.
But in fairness, watching with Bridge over the River Kwai and having my portion of foods beside me, I did move them from the left side to where you were on to the right side, because even I was just like at a point where it's just like the Frank's hot sauce that was on the chicken tenders, like I'm smelling it all the time now and I don't like it.
So your experience of having the food next to you was discouraging.
Yes. But I didn't have that with the hot dog. Hot dog was gone. Yeah. But I could always get a little pang off the hot sauce. But I know, in all fairness, like kind of, you know, it's the Stella. I was like, you know, the novelty of it, blah blah. But yeah, like kind of, you saw me the last time I did as well. I didn't order popcorn or anything that at all, because as I said, I'm just gonna get this food and that's enough, you know. But ultimately, I do think popcorn is a superior cinema snack. And I'll take a hot dog in Parnell, but I think that's it now. You know, I've tried the things that I was interested in Stella.
Yeah,
but I think hot popcorn and Coke is suffices.
So then, are we broadly on the same page then that the traditional cinema concessions currently are the best case scenario?
100%.
I would say just even no concessions. So.
And that's fair to a degree. That's like if I go to the Lighthouse, I rarely have anything, or you know, IFI has nothing. But I do like.
Who's to say? Just because it's, you know, the norm here, smelling hot popcorn and salt.
Yeah,
I like the smell, but that could be just as overpowering as
the only thing
depending on where somebody's from. And then who gets to say which is the okay one?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But what drives me mad about Look, I like my snacks, you know. At the end of the day, I will eat it all. So, you know, and like, you know, I don't mind anybody else doing all this stuff. And I would be the person who, next time I go to Stella, I'm probably going to get a cheeseburgers. I didn't have that yet, you know, these type of things. But my point is,
if they put it on the menu, then
it's fair game once it's on the menu. But the theaters are always going to put it on the menu, because as we know from fucking films and theaters, they make their money on the food.
Yes, but that's the thing I was going to say.
When they can stop charging $6 for popcorn and start charging $17 for a burger, then they're going to do it.
I think the food was pretty well priced.
You know, we either we opt in or we opt out.
But this was I was going to say though is like I you know, and I get this from my father for sure. But the thing that drives me mad in cinemas is when someone's trying to either open up a packet, like as in like just go for it, open it, you know. But the insisting on just burying a hand in it and that I find that if we're talking about stuff that annoys us in cinemas and stuff, the people like just like like they're rusting of stuff, burying them. But like my dad did us to my dad used to give out to us when we were kids. You know, he'd be sitting there and he'd just be like we could rent a movie. We were sitting there eating stuff, and dad would just be like giving us a side eye, like, what the fuck? Why are you making so much noise? You know.
I don't get that at all.
But my dad's an incredibly patient.
I honestly don't.
My dad's
get
an
that.
incredibly
Being bothered
patient
by
man,
noise.
Especially
and it's rubbed off on me.
especially in a cinema, because you've got this massive sound system. You know, just watch the film.
Yeah, the middle ground is it can be slightly irritating. I always try to make sure like I open my packets before the film starts, make them accessible.
There's a level of it that's going to be here. Look, to be honest,
I'm a highly distractible person, and it does.
yeah, I was going to say all of this stuff. To be honest,
because I'm
I
watching.
never think about it. I'll never come out of the cinema and be like, oh, this and that. And the reason, I think the main perk for me about the Stella versus other cinemas I've been in, and recently and stuff, is that the crowd seems way more respectful of the space. I think the fact that it's a posher, nicer environment, people aren't on their phones, they're not talking, they're not, you know what I mean? Like
I'm saying there's no poor people in it. Wow.
I'm poor and I go there.
I mean, Trading Places told us this in the 80s, right?
You were not poor.
I know.
You are not
Let's
poor.
not go there.
You're a Dublin homeowner.
Yes. But
You're landed gentry now,
yes.
motherfucker.
But no, I do own land. It's good to own land. But
Right, I'm drawing you as gentry. That's the cover this week.
but no, in all seriousness,
Don't mess with your street image.
Don't forget his sight hound.
Okay.
yes, no.
Gonna get
What
you
I
sidetracked.
was gonna say is no, my like I like to stand it because it's fucking quiet. People, I know, probably too quiet. I fell asleep, but but it's like
We'll come to that.
But it's good. It's good. I don't, man. The last few times I've been in the cinema, it's been people taking phone calls, making videos. It's
By the
just like,
time you're seeing,
No, that's ridiculous.
by the time you're seeing
That's
a
ridiculous.
classic film in a cinema by the time you're seeing a classic film in the middle of the day for €20 a ticket with a glass of Prosecco, you've got people that want to see the fucking film. That being said, some old cunt didn't turn their fucking phone on silent, and I just kept hearing boop burp burp every time the fucking message came in.
that was only
only 8 or 9 times.
was it?
Yeah,
I did.
you had a nap in the middle. Remember,
Dude,
there was some prick snoring as well.
I fell asleep for 2 seconds.
Long enough for me to notice, laugh, watch some more of the film, and then decide to take a picture of it.
I wouldn't say so. I thought you were sleeping.
Huh?
I wouldn't say,
No.
no. Okay, it looked like it.
No. 100% not.
No, I'm happy I flipped you off in the cinema.
Yeah. Just also, in the middle of the film, some fucking Scobie stuck his hand in front of me and flipped me off. And I was like, does this have anything to do with what Alec Guinness is going through? Why is this happening?
That was me.
It just occurred to you to flip me off in the middle of the movie.
Yeah. I got the reposition and I gave you the old sneaky what?
Could I suggest that perhaps you were trying to do anything to get the blood moving and wake yourself up?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, it was a nice, cool building, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, I liked it.
So it's armchairs in the middle, 2-seaters in the back, and then like the bed things up the front?
Yeah, the bed thing. Everybody goes on about, the bed things are weird. They're not bed things.
Are the beds for smooching?
I don't know, they're very front.
I think they just reclined because they're that low up the fucking front of the cinema, you know? You've got to be looking up.
They're just a little bit more like extended or whatever. But anyways,
But you can smooch too, right?
yeah, you can smooch on the couch at the back as well.
Yeah, but you're 200 yards from the screen at that point. It is a long room.
Yeah,
That's even better.
yeah, for more smooching.
But okay,
You can't watch a film and smooch.
Yeah, you
so
can't.
what difference does it make if you're far away?
Right.
that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Sitting in the back row of the movies on a Saturday night with you.
Is that an actual song?
Yeah.
So anyways, the cinema, the Stella, I like it. It's good. The food is good. Bring food back in the cinema. More food in the cinema is what I say. Give me a seafood chowder any day.
No.
Yeah.
Dinner theater, bad. There's a restaurant.
That's what you want.
There's a restaurant.
Seafood chowder, napkins, yeah, crunchy croutons, slurp it up, slurping it up.
There was a restaurant in Dublin tried to do stand-up comedy while serving dinners, and it was by all accounts a fucking disaster.
Was that my connect? Was that my contact to you?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, this was actually it was a place. I can't remember where the fuck it was. I do remember that it was like it was near enough to Shinee, and they came in and flyered their comedy night to the customers of the comedy night that was on in there. You know, it was a bit like, huh? A bit toe-steppy, I think.
Fair.
But I don't know, people are trying things. The movie itself, then. The Bridge on the River Kwai, 1957. Alec Guinness. What's the other guy? William Holden. Jack Hawkins. Sesui Hayakawa as Colonel Saito, I think. I had never seen this. Have you seen this, Brian?
Yes.
Kevin, you had seen it.
I'd seen, I've seen enough of it to remember bits and bobs of it, but then at the same time, kind of, definitely a rewatch was like watching most of it again.
So,
not my adult life.
What's your association with the Bridge on the River Kwai? I think of it as like
it's one of the best. It's one of the best things you can pick for a game of Hangman.
Just based on the variety of letters?
The number of, not even the variety, just people see those empty spaces and they go, what? That can't be a thing.
Yeah, fair. Interesting.
Or they used to, at least. Probably not so much these days.
But
it's daunting.
Yeah.
When you would have been on.
Yeah, you got a lot of E's, A's, O, I. You get a lot of vowels out of it.
Oh, you do. I'm just saying, when people see it, that little,
what the fuck am I going to do
spots, they go, I'm never going to get this. And then even if they get the E's, they're like, what?
Yeah. And also, just to mention it.
But I mean, less so these days, probably.
So what were you going to say, Kevin?
You asked me a question. I can't remember.
Yep. Your association with the Bridge on the River Kwai.
Oh, like, not anything particularly mad. More, I'm sure, most people's association with it, but it would have been on RTE a fair amount growing up, and my dad would have watched it a fair amount growing up, and it's a movie I would have been very familiar with.
I would have seen it on TV first, and then I would have watched it again in college.
Fair.
I would have got it from the library.
It's a real, like, Saturday afternoon on UTV, or like on like RTE, like Kelly's Heroes.
A real Sunday
kind of Christmas movie.
Well, I always associate, like, RTE used to show always kind of around maybe, I don't know, around 12 o'clock or something. They show an old World War II movie, or an older movie, basically, Golden Age. Would you say that's a Golden Age? Maybe not.
I would. Whether or not it's
57.
Like,
I think it's 57.
Yeah, 57. I think of that style of film, that aesthetic, that CinemaScope, that Technicolor, that style of film and filmmaking, that level of special effects, as classic movies. As the stuff that you see at Christmas. Now, really, what's happening is, I'm growing up in the early 90s.
Or do you need to fill the time?
I'm growing up in the 90s, and they're showing films from 30 years ago. And now we're in 2023, and they're showing films from 30 years ago, and instead we're seeing fucking, I don't know, Harry Potter and Transformers movies at Christmas. I do have that thing where I come down on Christmas Day or Christmas Evening or New Year's Day and Stephen's Day, and I'm like, let's put on a seasonal piece of programming. And it's like, it's not, Jimmy Stewart and Bell Book and Candle. It's Transformers, The Revenge of the Fallen. I'm like, this isn't quite what I want in this time of the year. But is that just me being a dick?
Yeah.
Cool. I
wasn't going to say dick. I was just going to say curmudgeon. But yeah,
an old curmudgeon. Go on.
I do think that there's this idea maybe that national broadcasters get this window at one end of the year to screen stuff as sort of special seasonal festivus stuff, and they have all of cinema to play with, and the fact that we're reaching for the Winter Soldier.
They also have what they've already paid for.
That's fair. Never thought of it like that.
We can still show this. We've paid for this. We still have the rights to show this. So you just put it on.
Right. I do wish what they were instead doing was, who was the guy on RTE that used to like screen the midnight movies or choose the midnight movies?
Brian Redden.
Is that who it was?
Maybe.
Is
that who you're thinking of?
No. Well, maybe. I don't know. I just remember the phenomenon of the late chosen movies being sort of more interesting and more variety to them. But I can't remember.
That was a Friday
the name
night
of the guy.
thing, though.
I can't remember the guy that did it.
You're talking about the Friday night one.
Yeah.
Brian Redden, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at, is like when we get to the end.
The Last Picture Show, wasn't
That's the name of it, thank you. When we get to that end of the year and we've got this room to just not choose or not show broadcast television, it's like, well, what fucking movies were there from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s that you're not showing the rest of the year?
We should get him on.
Is that doable?
I don't know.
Let's investigate.
Why not?
Well, you'd have to talk to him. I wouldn't have a clue.
That sounds like an Aiden job.
There are many jobs that sound like Aiden jobs.
But no,
This is one of
no
them.
jobs hiring.
So
I think we got an Aiden.
what's your... I don't know, what do you think of The Bridge on the River Kwai? I'll ask Brian because it's been a while since you've seen it. What's your, like...
I didn't rewatch it.
I know, that's why I said it's been a while
Oh, yeah,
since
okay.
you've seen it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm asking you with the loosest association, like, do you remember liking it? Do you remember
yeah.
anything
No, I liked
stand
it,
out as
for
like
sure.
a problem in it, or like bad storytelling, bad filmmaking? What's a highlight? What's a good thing? You know, like, what are your thoughts?
I think the last time I watched it was in IADT.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 Snyders ago.
That's 2 whole Snyder cycles, man. That's 2 whole Snyder cycles.
I was talking to somebody about that a little
It's
bit.
piss and rain.
I was talking to somebody about comic book shit, and I just got to a point where it's like, I think I got 4 Batman reboots left in me, and then I'm dead, so I'm not really worried anymore. But 2 Snyder cycles ago, you watched The Bridge on the River Kwai, and
I think I watched it in the library.
right,
Um,
which was the style at the time.
it was the style at the time.
You weren't allowed to take
The library
DVDs
was the
out.
place to be. The library was the place to be. I had seen it on TV before that. It came up, must have come up somewhere in class for me to kind of think,
I gotta go watch this.
probably in the film history classes, like, I'm going to check this out again. But it was a while ago. I don't really recall it, yeah. But I did like it. You'd seen it?
I had
Who'd seen
never
it?
seen it. I'd love to get Kevin's
hadn't seen
thoughts
it.
on it
Oh,
before I go at
that's
it from a,
surprising.
like...
That's surprising.
It was a blind spot, and cutting this, often when my mother goes, "Oh, this is a great movie," I go,
Sure.
I get my back up a little bit, and it becomes a block because my mother just went on and on about Alec Guinness, and yeah, I'd get a little back up on it. But Kevin,
What's become of you, Kevin?
I feel like he left laundry outside or something.
That could be it.
That's just me guessing, but it would be the only reason why the pissing rain outside would be an issue. All right, well, I'll give you my take on it then, having never seen it. I really enjoyed it. It definitely fell into, like, look, it could have been a little shorter. It's got that sort of old-timey filmmaking where it's just like a little more time spent just slowly panning across a room. But, you know, that's part of the charm of older films as well. It's like, take its time. There's stuff in it where I really enjoyed it, right? Like, so Colonel Nicholson, Alec Guinness's Colonel Nicholson comes along and he kind of gets Stockholm syndromed into building this bridge for his Japanese captors. He sort of fixates on doing a good job and maintaining the discipline of his unit and becomes kind of invested in the work that they're doing as being important. And when his military companions come along to destroy a strategic target for the Japanese, he kind of causes a problem for them because he's now fixated on the thing he's built. That's just a little recap for anyone who's never seen it. It was great. The scale of it as well, like in the
it's
opening
huge.
credits, they mentioned the engineering firm that was brought in to build the bridge, you know, because they had to actually build the bloody bridge. The number of extras, the battalion that are using to build the thing was huge, so that's really impressive. There's some stuff in it where you're going... So a lot of the early section is about Alec Guinness sticking to his guns around enforcing the rules of the Geneva Convention. Neither he nor his fellow officers are to be press ganged into manual labor as prisoners of war. And the colonel of the camp is insisting that everybody who's a prisoner will work regardless of their rank. And he is beaten and sweatboxed, and so are his fellow officers. And ultimately the guy folds and agrees that they will take on an administrative position overseeing whatever. Now, what we're cheering for here is the posh boys refusing to work. And what the rest of the battalion ultimately cheer him for and raise them on their shoulders for is the posh boys won't do the work. And they've maintained the class structure into the POW camp, and the working men are overjoyed by this. And I was watching that going, this is a bit fucking stupid. It is as much an odd societal psychosis as anything else that happens in the movie, that the class structure has to be maintained. The sort of stiff British upper lip.
That's such a bizarre aspect of the movie, in a sense. That's such and obviously the times are different because people appreciated like more kind of like, you know, hierarchical system and things like that, you know. But it is funny because it's just kind of like he's so like, you know, against the Geneva Convention now, you can't have officers working, and it's just like, that's not the problem here, you know.
Yeah, it's such a funny thing to see celebrated ultimately.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, the boys get to sit around and have scotch and have tea brought to them while they plan the labor of the rest of the prisoners.
Yes.
Like,
and they're like increase the Japanese soldiers to maybe 2 yards as well, give them a good bit sense of competition and things like that, like. And it's all this, but like, you know, the Japanese colonel, is he a colonel or a general?
He's colonel, I think.
Colonel, yeah. He goes along with it. So there was I was reading up about it afterwards.
Well, just as you mentioned that, what's interesting as well is like that colonel is a product of his own environment as well. He wanted to be an artist. Like they say that as much in it. Like this guy is driven mad as much as anyone else by the fact that he was forced by familial pressure into the military when he wanted to be an artist, and he can't exert the control over these people that, you know, the structures around him would expect them to. He can't deliver this bridge. It's like he's as fucked up as everyone else in it, you know, even if he is in command of the place. And Alec Guinness goes mad, basically, you know, and as much as he was fighting for his principles go out the window once he sets his task or his goal or whatever. All fair to say, or any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, well, for sure. I just thought it was interesting where like kind of he came out of the hot box, you know, that he's being tortured in, and that stuff I actually remember as a kid. I remember those scenes, but he comes out of it anyways, and like, you know, he's down on the bridge and he has the engineer down, the British engineer soldiers and all stuff down there, and all the other soldiers look like they're just having a great time. They're swimming around, they're fucking around, they're jumping off the bridge into the water. It's just like kind of like, yeah, looks like these guys have a great time. And then he's just kind of like, oh, we have to put this disorder to rest, you know. We got to get these guys on this bridge and get it done and dusted and blah blah. And it's just like, look, for prisoners of war, they're having a grand old time swimming and running around, like. Would you say that's true?
Yeah. No, that it's interesting. Like, yeah, I mean, it's. Is that an inconsistency? Like when we first get to the camp,
yeah, exactly.
William Holden's character is burying the previous workers. Like, how are these people not being shot, beaten? I
thought that as well. Yeah, it's like kind of like, it's like initially you're painted a very grim view of the camp and the conditions they're under, and then kind of once Alec McGuinness's character comes out of the hotbox and stuff. What Alec Guinness? What's his name?
Alec McGuinness.
Is it Alec McGuinness?
Alec Guinness. Sorry, I kind of smiled. I was not going to say anything, and I kind of smiled, and Brian smiled, and I thought you were looking down. I thought we got past it. Sorry.
No, because I have to think of like, is that his name?
Kevinism.
But Kevinism.
Yeah, we love it.
It should be an Evanism. what was I going to say? Anyways, yeah, I can't remember. But I was going to say earlier that Colonel Saito was based on Major Rizaburo, which I'm probably butchering names. I can't even say normal names. Saito, but he in the movie. This guy is quite hard nosed and tough. But in reality, the fella who is based on was actually a much softer Japanese colonel that showed mercy to people. And even after World War II, apparently, the characters that Guinness's character and Colonel Saito, so Colonel Nicholas and Colonel Saito, the real people, basically, the real Colonel Nicholas spoke up at Saito's war crime thing, saved him from the gallows, and then years later, that Japanese general or colonel went to England to visit the resting place of that guy when he died and all that kind of stuff. So they had this massive mutual respect. He said that the Colonel Saito was actually much softer and much more empathetic and understanding than most, say, people for prisoner of war, over prisoner of wars and stuff, and that the British colonel spoke in his defence at Saito's war crime hearing, which is interesting, I thought.
It is.
And do you remember? Private Joyce. He was the young buck they brought from. Yeah, so Private Joyce is one of the characters in the
young
movie.
commando.
Yes, the young commando. He actually saved the director's life on the movie.
Go on.
They were shooting a scene in whatever kind of happened. The director got kind of like swept away or taken by stronger currents and got brought down the river and stuff. A man jumped in and swam after him and got him, saved him.
Oh,
yeah,
amazing.
like he's proper saved him. And another fact that the elephants that were used in the movie, it was like whatever conditions they were working and using in, the elephants would just take breaks and they just swim and lie in the water for hours and hours, despite the crew crying to be like, no, we gotta film, we gotta do these things. The elephants didn't care. They were just like, nah, we're taking a break, and they'd take a break for hours. Just playing.
Elephants wouldn't give a
lie
fuck.
in the water. No,
Elephants are
great,
like that.
Great. Yeah, but I have to say, kind of like, I'm sorry I had to jump out there because it started to rain and I have all my clothes on the line, so I kind of panicked.
We guessed.
But it was Jesus, scared the shit out of me. But the ending of the last scene of the movie, the last half an hour, 40 minutes, like the movie's great. Like I think it's like it builds up slowly and stuff, but as soon as the British and the commandos are trying to kind of take out the bridge and stuff, they're on that journey, it gets really, really intense and stuff. It's really fun. But at the ending, like that last bit where, like, Colonel Nicholas is on the bridge, he sees that there's something kind of, something up. He starts noticing the wires and stuff, and he starts to investigating. Like it shit hits the fan. Everything just goes out the window. It's fucking nuts. Like it really is intense.
So there's some things that are like,
we can spoil this movie. It's been out for
1950 fucking seven. There's stuff
years?
in the time it takes to establish things. Like, as much as I'm saying it's ludicrous that he's fighting for this principle of like the officers wouldn't work, they're establishing this character as a lunatic who gets a fucking idea in his head and won't let it go to the point of death.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
stubborn
that's
old brass.
That's something in and of itself. One of the things I noticed was. So he comes in carrying the there's a name for this and I can't remember what it is, but he's carrying this little stick under his arm, and it's a mark of rank as much as anything else. Those guys carry that little stick. That's a thing. If I think back to my classical studies, it like goes back to like fucking Roman army, carrying a little stick of rank, like a walking stick or a riding crop type of thing. And when he's having that initial argument with Saito breaks the stick and throws him in the hotbox. And once he gets his way, he picks up a stick on the ground and is just carrying it around again. Like, this is his mark of office. But what I thought was a lovely little touch was when he's having this sort of moment of, like, reflection about his life and the value of the work he's done, the fact that this bridge is going to stand, and he's leaning on the railing of that bridge. There's a point where he's talking about this feeling of accomplishment for what he's done here and what he's going to go on to do, and he drops the stick into the water, and it's a very deliberate shot, and it's a very deliberate thing, and it's got to be saying at this point he's lost his sense of structure and his association with like he has lost a firm grasp of his understanding of the military role that he's supposed to be serving.
Yes.
And after that, he's just like, he's mad, and he's about the bridge more so than his battalion and his people.
Yeah.
He's lost that grasp of home.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's, and like even then putting up the placard, like, you know, this bridge was built by British soldiers and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of just like,
yeah, I mean, there's stuff there that are like, you could argue is reasonable. Like, he makes kind of reasonable arguments along the way about like building this bridge is about maintaining discipline in the battalion. Let's show them that we can do this better than they can do. It's good for our morale. It's good for whatever else. But it's about one-upping Saito every step of the way.
This is it. He's pretty much like, well, if we're here, as long as we're here, we may as well kind of just fucking make the most of it and do our best. We're in this situation anyways, you know. But he takes it too far, especially like oh god, the last scenes when he's like basically when Alec Guinness' character is walking across the bridge and then notices that there's, you know, something up. There's bombs.
A detonating cable. Yeah.
And because there's a really intense scene of these guys at nighttime floating down the River Kwai, under the cover of night. They're attaching all the bombs, and they have the what would you call it, the big line, I can never think, the detonator line, whatever it's called, I can't think of it.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
But
the cable, whatever the charges, and they've got that plunger,
fuse or something. But the plunger. But it's all that good stuff. So you know, that's all really intense, and you know, they built this up, and you're waiting for it. Then the next morning they wake up, the bloody river has
the level dropped.
Yeah, the level dropped in the river, so it exposes the banks and stuff. So elements of the wire are exposed. But
you know what's going to happen. The movie's famous for how it ends. Like, we know what's going to happen every step of the way at this point, and yet we are on the edge of our seat going, don't notice it. Don't. What are you doing? Why are you walking down here? Why are you walking to him? What? No, stop. You spend the whole time going, don't do it. Don't, like, somebody do something.
Oh, you know? God. And then when the American guys are shouting, kill him, and it's just like, this is just fucked. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
Great. I do know what? I'd recommend people watching it. 100%. It's brilliant. I know, but you know what I mean? Like, it's quite, nowadays, people don't watch things that are from the 90s. Never mind, you know, as in, like, I think when we were younger, it was easier to watch that kind of stuff because there was...
we've talked about this.
Yeah.
There was no channels to change. You watched what was on.
Exactly.
We're the last generation of watched what was on.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I don't mean to be curmudgeonly.
No,
One way is not better than the other, but we saw... Yeah,
like, you know, like generations before us would last not to grow up without the internet and all that kind of stuff. So you know,
I haven't seen
changes.
a lot of shit that exists on the internet.
Yeah,
but I watched what was on.
Yeah, great movie though, and just great. The only thing I was going to say is we're kind of funny. All these movies of the time, the 50s and 60s and stuff. Especially when they started doing color and stuff. Like, it's when they wanted to show people sweating, they just lathered them in oil. It's just a bunch of oily lads.
Threw a lot of water at them.
Yeah, water or oil. But it's always, all those movies all the times, everybody's so shiny. It's like
I'd be curious. Like, they were actually in Ceylon, right? They were in Sri Lanka. It's probably hot as fuck.
Well, they're definitely somewhere in Asia for sure.
Well, no, they said, but thanks to Ceylon, which is Sri Lanka, which I know because of Wayne's World 2.
Oh, yeah.
Sri Lanka, formerly Ceylon. That's my old lady. One of the things I thought was funny and very much...
I had to beat him to death with my own shoe. With his own shoe.
One of the things I thought was funny and very much of its time is the commando group parachuting into the Siamese village and all of the men having been conscripted. So the women are going to carry the goods for them through the jungle. So they're these commandos. And there's just lots of these shots of like these village women that don't speak English looking longingly after the white commandos. And it's like, this is weird. And we didn't need it. We didn't need the like building a wordless romance between these four soldiers and these women carrying their shit through the woods.
Yeah, for sure.
It is funny when you see a technological advancement as well. Like, they made a point of explaining plastic explosive to us.
Yeah.
And that was an SAS development for World War II. Like that was a new thing, and they're just making a point of going, this is what this is, you know, and they play with it a little bit and really fully explain so that we know what plastic explosives are. And it's been such a ever-present spy and army thing for our entire lives that like we didn't think that at one point they had to explain this. Like I've mentioned the Ipcress file where Michael Caine meets his spy master, but he's in a supermarket, and it's one of the first supermarkets in the UK, and they're explaining what a supermarket is for a good chunk of the scene. They're pushing a little trolley, and somebody's like, I don't really like this American style of having to go and collect your own goods. You know, because before that you went into a shop and said, get me 3 cans of this, 3 cans of this, 3 cans of that, and somebody went back to some shelves, you know. There's this interesting little social documentary moment in this film where they explain supermarkets.
That's funny.
Very odd.
That's funny. That's cool.
So where would you rank this in your sort of 50s, 60s war movies? Like, what else have we got? We got The Great Escape, we got Kelly's Heroes, we got Guns and Navarone, we got
Dam Busters.
Eagle Has Landed, Dam Busters, yeah.
Catch 22, wasn't there a Catch 22 of that era? I feel like there was.
Catch 22, I don't know that one. But
maybe I'm wrong.
Where does Bridge on the River Kwai sit now when you think of these sort of movies?
Top
Would it
shelf.
be a top, or are you top shelf?
Yeah.
You're going to Kelly's Heroes before it, right?
I'd have to. Yes, Kelly's Heroes is much more fun and all that kind of stuff for sure. Kelly's Heroes is a bit tongue in cheek and let's go crack and stuff. Yeah, Kelly's Heroes is probably more fun. But I say Kelly's Heroes is a good 20 years younger than it, no?
It's probably the late 60s, 70s?
70s, okay.
Late 60s, I'd say,
Okay.
right?
I'm not too sure. I thought that was 70s. I get the feeling like Donald Sunderland and I think it was I want to say Clint Eastwood was in Kelly's Heroes, but I could be wrong.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I remember Donald Sunderland.
And Don Rickles and like a bunch of that era's guys. It was a Magnificent Seven thing of its day. What do you think, Brian? Have you got anything above it in that sort of vein?
I don't really rank war movies.
Okay.
They're of a time. I can appreciate the craft that went into making them, but I kind of don't think about them.
Okay, well,
Give a shit about
have
them.
you seen, what other ones have you seen? Have you seen The Great Escape?
Yes.
Would you prefer The Great Escape to The Bridge on the River Kwai?
Ambivalent.
And that,
Have you seen,
I'm sorry.
have you seen Kelly's Heroes?
I just don't know.
No?
But so you're just saying like they're in a time as in like kind of like it could be like kind of they're of a time, the country was, the world was in a certain place. They're maybe a little bit.
We made a lot of them.
dinosaurs.
But the world is like, that's the thing as well, like watching something like this going, okay, 1957, so it's 12 years after World War II has ended. Like we're 23 years after, or we're 22 years after 9/11, you know, like what are our 9/11 films, you know, like what that's a similar mindset. We do have like Zero Dark 30.
So I think it goes through like, I think it's like kind of, you have war movies, then you have the Western, then you have the mafia gangster type era, and then you have the, you know, there's whatever between that, and then you would have had like maybe it was like the kind of 2000s thriller or the 90s thriller, you know, like that kind of like The Game, and you know, like I feel like there was so many like good thrillers and kind of those type of movies in the 90s, early 2000s. But then you have the superhero kind of phase, but like there's always a kind of a phase, like obviously not.
I don't think there's an identifiable cycle in like 100 and odd years of cinema. I don't think we've enough pattern to establish.
I think there is. I just don't think.
I don't think it means cycle.
Yeah,
though.
I don't like exactly. But I was going to say like there's always like an element of an a genre that's very popular.
There's always something that's popular at the time, but like if I like early days of Hollywood, they were pissing out westerns because they built the bloody sets and all of their studios existed in California. They just like it's hard to say that the western was particularly popular in that era as much as it is to say they just kept making fucking westerns because it cost no money. It cost comparatively no money, right? Was the western so popular because people loved westerns, or we built the sets, we've got the costumes, we've got the footage of horses riding back and forth.
But
we
I think
10 of these a week.
I think it's one of those things that like, you know, like different eras grow up with different things, you know, and like they would have been closer to the Western era, so that kind of entertainment would have been like a hark back to the old days. It's like how
Who's they?
People at that time.
Which time?
When westerns are popular.
Well, what I'm getting at is what we think of as the golden era of westerns is 30s, 40s, right? But I can point to a bunch of westerns from the 50s and the 60s and the Sergio Leone and the 80s stuff with blazing like gun. What is it? Oh God, fucking. Look, we can point at popular westerns in every decade.
Yeah.
There is a glut of westerns very early on in cinema because it's what they had technologically. Like they had the gear, they were going, you know? And then once they were set up and had budget and had room and had space to start making.
Yeah, I think you're talking about
Other things.
I think you should, looking at these things from a lens of post World War II when they had money and budget for this stuff, and that's why you had a resurgence of movies, films, and then obviously World War II stuff, Western stuff, all that kind of jazz. But I think there's just there's a popular genre that I'm not necessarily saying dominates, but then becomes less popular because possibly due to oversaturation, and then the taste and things change and people move on to other things.
Yeah, something always hits big, and then there's a bunch of stuff trying to hit the same vein. Yeah. So Game of Thrones has led to so many fantasy TV shows subsequently, or attempted swings at fantasy epics, which is going to actually allow me to pivot from that onto Wheel of Time season 2 came out, right? And Brian, did you watch that, or have you been watching it? You did. So I guess we'll wrap up on Bridge on the River Kwai with
Thumbs up.
It's a classic. Go see it. See it on DVD or wherever you can get it. Yeah. If you've not seen it, take a little trip.
I will just
to History Town.
I just want to caveat that with something small.
Ooh,
I want to
caveat.
Say, yes, I want to say
caveat at emptor.
Pardon?
Buyer beware.
No.
Okay.
It was also kind of a nice experience seeing Bridge over the River Kwai in a cinema like Stella. I kind of felt like, it's obviously a cinema of a time. This is a movie of a time. And it was just kind of like, it's like if you were ever to see Bridge over the River Kwai in a cinema, that was the cinema scene,
Yeah.
It felt fitting. It was nice. That's all I was going to add.
No, that's a great point, is that it felt
felt right.
Environment specific as well. But put the movie on your TV, sit down, pay attention to it, have a good movie experience, make a little effort, and it's great. Cool. Brian, The Wheel of Time. I didn't watch the first series. Again, I've had a couple of people say to me, "Oh, it's back. Let's watch it." You mentioned it when we were just setting up here. You've watched season 2? How did you find it?
A couple of episodes in.
How many episodes?
It's not finished. 4.
You're very quiet.
3 or 4.
I'm not sure if it's volume. You're 3 or 4 episodes in. Okay. How does it compare to season 1? Is it...
I like it.
You like it? Is it Netflix or is it Amazon?
I like it. Amazon.
Didn't they like recast some main character? Does that affect the show for you? No. What happened there? What happened there? Do you know?
I don't know. I remember reading about it. I don't know.
And do you think
don't know if any.
Do you think it's living up to your expectations of an epic fantasy show? Like, do you think it's living up to Amazon's expectations of an epic fantasy show?
I think it's doing quite
okay.
Well.
Interesting.
It's different. It's so much better when I compare it to something like Ahsoka, which is leaning heavily into this new lore that was never really, kind of codified properly in Star Wars. It was just loosely based on some philosophy,
So I haven't. I'll come back to that. Like I do think that they've done a lot of work establishing chunks of stuff in that in the Clone Wars and the Rebels series.
But
that's what Filoni's drawn on. He's drawn on himself.
Yeah, but even there, it's very weak.
I agree.
It's grafted onto it, and it just doesn't seem like it's properly thought out. It's kind of grafted on, and it doesn't work. It feels very fan fiction-y. Whereas I think this show's doing a much better job of, being high fantasy, but it's not groundbreaking, but I like it. It looks nice.
It looks nice.
It's a nice looking show.
You
Is
do recommend it? Okay,
I do.
Interesting.
I do.
Is this the Brandon Sanderson?
Like he took over after the original, right?
Okay.
Isn't Brandon Sanderson is it Midborn, Cosmere, or something like that?
Couldn't tell you.
I just did a tattoo of it during the week.
Not
I believe
sure.
it's him. Could be wrong.
I haven't read any of his stuff. I wasn't a huge fan of the books. There's nice ideas in the books. The books feel like they were written to be adapted.
Oh, okay.
To me anyway.
Yeah.
One of my memories from the books is he spent a lot of time talking like about how attractive people were and their appearances and stuff.
Right.
And it kind of feels Star Warsy, for lack of a better word, but set in more of a medieval setting, and it fleshes out things kind of nicely. But in terms of reading it and it, enriching my soul, it didn't really do that. But in terms of being a cool fantasy world, I liked it in that sense. But I didn't think the books were particularly amazing, particularly if I compare it to Le Guin or something like that. But I'm enjoying the show. It's good. I don't remember a lot of the books. I remember enough.
How does it stack up to something like The Witcher?
Infinitely better.
Infinitely better. Okay.
The Witcher is such a disappointment. I turned off the latest season of The Witcher.
Didn't even watch it, buddy.
3 minutes
Yeah.
in. It looks so cheap. It looks like an ITV kids show.
Yeah, I keep comparing it to Xena.
I just turned it off. Literally, it opens with a fight scene, and it even looks like they spent time rehearsing the fight. But then the way it's shot, like the production, just the cinematography, the photography of it, it just looked awful. And I turned it off. And this is so much better. I can't even remember if it's straying from the books or not. I know people who've read the books that aren't happy with it, which is kind of crazy because, like I said, the books they're okay.
Yeah.
The book, I think the books are great fodder for adaptation, but I don't think they're great literary works.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're interesting in terms of like the scene setting and the characters that he kind of comes up with. I think it was a good fit. Check it out.
Okay.
Maybe even read one of the books first, and then compare. I think that might be the way to go. Read book one, then watch it, and then go, oh, that's interesting. That's cool. I think it's doing a really good job. I think it's elevating the books, basically.
Oh, okay, cool. That's a rare.
That's what I think.
All right,
People
you
would
kind of
disagree
sold me on it.
But
I shall watch
read
some
book one.
episodes.
People would disagree. Okay.
You'll fly through book one. Read book one and check it out.
All my friends read it.
Because book one is around season 1, I think. So, yeah.
I might not read it, but I will take your advice, and potentially I have some audio book tokens that
Or
Yep.
do that one.
and I can tattoo and listen to it if I'm not talking to the customers.
That's what I'm enjoying about it. Is I think it's a good adaptation in that sense.
Well, that's great. That's pretty much the best.
I remember broad plot points of the books, and I'm like, oh, I remember this bit.
Yeah.
I remember that bit. That's interesting. I like how that's not quite how I pictured that, but that's cool. I like that.
Fair.
That's great.
I think they're elevating each other basically, but that's me.
Cool.
I know a lot of the book fans don't like it. I hope it sees it through to the end. I hope they don't cancel it,
that
because it's good.
Is there an end? I feel like that series kind of went for a billion books.
It goes on forever, yeah. And there's probably I know even the book fans refer to like
The jumping off point.
I think 3 books before the end, 3 books before the last book or something, kind of fans refer to as the crawl because it's notoriously slow, lots of scene setting. So maybe they could maybe they could cut a lot of that. I don't know, but I would like to see it. I would like to see it go further. It's a nice looking show.
Cool.
nice production design. It's good. I
Yeah,
like it.
that's what I feel is like just gone in The Witcher. If it was ever there, you know, I look at the costumes people are wearing, and I'm just like, this is, especially in the wizarding world. I guess I look at those costumes and I just go, what the fuck is this? This is.
There's a scene in the
cosplay
latest
fan.
episode where Rosamund Pike is meeting up with this. Don't want to spoil anything, but she's meeting up with this kind of lady of a house, and it's in their manor, and both their costumes look great. There's so much storytelling in their costumes, and then the room they're in. The room is immaculately designed. It looks fantastic. It looks great, and that's really missing from something like The Witcher. I felt.
A costume. I feel like I'm about to say something as if I have an existing opinion on costume design, but like a costume that fits in the world and is right on the character. Perfect. A costume that's designed to accentuate the character's attributes, like it's a cartoon character, like the costumes of like, oh, the Black Witch is wearing a big black dress with this, that, and the other, and it's like it's very spiky, and it's like that, like that sort of thing has its place. But in The Witcher, I would love it more if it was just like, these are just fucking clothes people wear, and they're right for the time, even if it is a fictionalized space. They're right for an era of that level of technology, rather than being so ludicrously ornate as to just feel like contemporary fan costumes. They just don't sit right in the world. How does it stack up to the Lord of the Rings show? Are the two even comparable?
They're very different. I would prefer this. The Lord of the Rings is kind of, it's interpreting a lot of a kind of a lore type stuff.
Right.
I still liked it. I liked that as well. But there's a clearer kind of dramatic narrative in Wheel of Time, I think. It's much more of a traditional kind of hero story.
Cool.
Rings of Power is very kind of based in old Norse mythology and stuff, and it's very, the books and things it's based on were very academic, so they're just interpreting a lot of lore, basically.
Is there an old fantasy movie that you like or haven't seen? Like 60s, 70s, 80s? People tried these things. There's nothing that you like?
Probably not.
I'm trying to think of
there's none jumping to mind.
Anything of that era, like Kull the Conqueror, the Conan movies, Red Sonja.
You mean Krull?
There is a Kull with Kevin Sorbo, but I do mean Krull.
Was there a Kull? Oh, okay.
I do. It was like a TV movie. They were trying to pilot or something. There is a Kull the Conqueror, but yeah, Krull is definitely a thing too.
The one with the
five-knifed throwing jib jab.
Yeah.
Beastmaster, of course. Like they were taking swings. They were always taking swings at genre stuff. They just didn't have the budgets and art direction to do this sort of
Did I send you the video of the thing I found on Prime?
What is it?
And it's not even softcore pornography. It's just titties, basically. But I can't remember what it's called. I took a video of it. Did I send it to you?
Did you watch it?
No, I watched 20 minutes of it.
Okay.
I think.
I'm trying to edge towards like, what will we watch for next week? What would be a fun thing to watch that we haven't seen?
There was I don't know, it's an old fantasy movie, and I think I talked about it before in a podcast, but I just cannot find it. I don't know what it was. I feel like it was British as opposed to American, but we're not going to be able to watch it because I don't know what it was. But it was just like a bunch of like kind of like a team of rogues or bandits. They're like in the forest. There's a big tall guy. He had the hammer. There was a more kind of the archer. There was a knife guy. All this kind of stuff. I can't remember what it was.
Okay.
I'd love to find out what it was, but I can't.
Do you remember anything about the plot?
I really don't. And I liked it when I was younger. I just can't remember. Here, look,
and it's British.
I think it
I'm
was.
making faces, but I'm just like it's one of these things. Like if any details get us towards it,
like it's one of those things where I know I've seen it. I know I've watched it. I think I've spoken to my brothers about it. I've tried to find it a few times. No, like my brain is so hazy on the details. Like I can't. I remember the kind of like I think the guy with the big hammer acts with the tall guy, black beard, bald. There was like an elfy kind of pointy ear guy, I think, with like arrows or knives and stuff. It was real tropey, like, and I'd say it's 70s, potentially 80s.
Yeah, that's not going to help.
No.
I get you. But like, there's loads of those. Like, I can think of loads of these fantasy movies, but it's like, I don't know. All right. Well, then, have we all seen the 13th Warrior? I was watching clips of that during the week.
Antonio Banderas.
Yeah.
Would you watch it, rewatch it, or refresh your memory on it and talk about it next week?
Sure.
Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah, I can probably watch it. Yeah, but probably try to get it in there.
Okay.
Oh, I won't be here next week.
You're
so
not here
fire
next
away.
week. Okay. Yeah, but we can jump into it.
Yeah.
But I'd just love to have something to come in and talk to, and I just saw a clip of that, and it'd be nice to kind of revisit it a little bit. And I think John McTiernan's kind of a funny thing to talk about as well. Not funny, but just like kind of interesting. That guy's career is a bit weird. All right. Well then, anybody got anything absurd or obnoxious to say that I can drop credits after?
I don't like Timothy Oliphant's hair in Justified new season. Tune in next week to find out why.